to the Fulham Focus podcast. My name's Matt Boisclair, and the Whites are just 3 points away from top spot in the Championship as we head into the international break following an entertaining 2-2 draw with Charlton at the Cottage on Saturday lunchtime. We came from behind twice and should probably have gone on to win comfortably in what was one of our most incident-packed games of the season so far. There's plenty to talk about, and joining me to do just that, firstly, is a man who accidentally posted to our group chat on Saturday morning, "They don't have colon in store." Said you can order it online, bet it's not £40 though. His wife hasn't got anything to worry about though. It turns out colon is Costa Rican currency needed for his trip in a few weeks. It's Eastbourne's king of innuendo, Matt Dom. Evening, mate.
Good evening, mate. Good evening. That could have been worse.
It definitely could have been. And on to the next one. Also here is the founder, and to my knowledge, the only member of the Aldershot branch of the Little Mix fan club. Take a sip of his secret potion. It'll make you fall in love. Representing all the women, salute, salute, attention. It's Matt Baldwin.
Yeah, that's a It's a guilty pleasure of mine. I have no shame in admitting it. Can I just, on a brief point, I thought that Mr. Don was talking about cologne when he posted it into the group. I thought he was trying to buy some fancy aftershave of some description. That was my interpretation of it.
I won't tell you what.
That's just your terrible eyes, mate.
Anyway, presumably it's Little Mix's superb musicianship that you're a fan of.
Little from that column and a little bit from, let's just say,
on to Charlton then.
Yeah.
Fulham.
So we expected there to be changes to the team that won at Reading. Cavallero came back into the side in place of Bobby Reid. Stephen Sessegnon returned in place of Dennis Adoy at right back. It was really open in the beginning, and Johnny Williams' energy from Charlton was setting the tempo for some early pressure. Do you think our style suits a high tempo from the off? And if so, who can we look to set it for us? Baldo, I'll come to you first.
I would like to start off by saying we expected there to be changes from the team already. Is it one of these great philosophical? I'm not sure if it's a philosophical quote, but you never change your winning formula. You never change the winning starting lineup. So I was a bit surprised to see that we made changes from our 4-1 thrashing of Reading on Tuesday night, I think it was. So a little bit surprised there. In regards to the Charlton game and the high tempo from Johnny Williams, I don't really think we have any players to do it, because Johnny Williams is, well, not blessed with pace, but he was blessed with pace before he got his injuries. But we don't really have anyone that you have any faith in to run with the ball, as it were. Tom Kearney can pick a pass and he'd be creative in the middle of midfield, but you don't exactly have your money on him to beat a man, do you? Or Stefan Johansson, or any of our central midfielders, really. We don't have anyone with that sort of pace. So I don't think a high tempo is really our thing, unless you want to, maybe shift, Bobby Reid, I think seems pretty nifty. If you want to put him in central midfield, but I don't think that really works. I don't think it suits us, because I don't think we have the sort of player that can do it, in my opinion anyway.
Okay, what do you think, Dom? I kind of felt like Stefan Johansson could be that sort of player who could set the tempo for the team. I feel like our style of play would suit a higher tempo, but also I can see why we play that kind of patient build-up. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's all about mixing it up, really. I don't think it's any good just entirely playing the slow-paced possession game for 90 minutes. Equally, you can't come out of the blocks and maintain that for 90 minutes either. So yeah, I just want to see perhaps a little bit more tempo when it's needed. We know that at the Cottage, we've had most teams who've come here this season have sort of started quite brightly, and then we know as the game goes on that we get on top of it and we will create chances. So I don't think we necessarily need to do too much differently. It was just, I think, I don't know, on another day we would have won that easily. So I'm not too upset about the draw, really. I don't think we need to change the way we play too much.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I'm not too upset with the draw. I thought it was a really exciting game, and often I've come away from games that I thought we should have won and just been really annoyed. But yesterday I came away and thought, actually, that was a really good game, and I really enjoyed that. So Fulham settled down after 5 to 10 minutes, and whilst Williams did remain a nuisance, we saw quite a lot of the ball, as we would expect to. Joe Bryan came closest with a shot across goal from distance, which went across goal and went wide. I did think we looked a little bit vulnerable at the back. Firstly, Forster-Caskey's cross almost went straight into the top corner with Betts stranded. Then their players are queuing up to have a chance. They're heading home a free kick from out wide. In the end, that header was weak and Betts just gathered it up quite easily. But do you still think we have defensive problems? Although I guess teams will always concede goals, so perhaps I'm nitpicking. What do you think, Baldo? Do we have problems at the back?
Yeah, I think we knew this going into the season that our defence was going to be terrible, and I saw lots of jokes about how we're going to have to win every game 5-4, and we may have to at some stage of the season. But we knew our defence was going to be the weakest part of the game, and we didn't really strengthen it in the summer window. I mean, that may be why, after getting it over the line, we've this Michael Hector deal, which is going to come through in January. Somewhere down the line, Michael Hector is going to come in. So we know that we have problems. It's just a case of fixing it. Is it a personnel problem? I don't know. Maybe that's why Hector's coming in. Or is it a Scott Parker tactical issue? But he's still relatively young in his managerial career, so maybe there's just a little bit of naivety on his part and inexperience on his part in that case. So yeah, I do think that the defense still needs to be worked on, and whether or not we're going to be able to use it and get through the season, as it were, in the way we are, we'll just have to wait and see.
You mentioned personnel problems there, and one player I did think had a particularly poor game, or at least a poor first half, was Stephen Sess. I thought his attacking distribution spoiled at least 2 attacks, and he gave away an unnecessary corner under no pressure at all just before half-time. There was a formation change in the second half, which we'll come on to, and I think this spared his blushes to some extent because he came off as part of that change. But Dom, do you think it's time to give Dennis a run in the side and to reintegrate Sess later on, or do we stick by him so as not to dent his confidence? Because I feel a little bit like at the moment he's running off of his name.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's kind of it's difficult. He's up and down quite a lot at the moment because he's only just come into the team and he is young, and that's what you expect when players are learning the game more. They're going to make mistakes, but yeah, attackingly he wasn't very good against Charlton, but it wasn't a performance worthy of dropping him. It's going to do a lot more harm for his confidence than if he makes a few mistakes in games. I think Parker will stick with him, much like a few weeks ago a lot of us were calling for Marek Rodak to go in goal. Parker stuck with Bettinelli, and he's had a couple of good games. I think it was potentially a bit dodgy against Charlton, but certainly it wasn't his fault that he conceded 2 goals, I don't think. But Sessegnon, yeah, stick with him. We've seen what he can do. He's not necessarily that. He's not that overlapping Fredericks type fullback, but he's a strong player. It can only do him good to keep him in the team, I think.
What about you, Baldo? Stick with Sess?
I think show faith in him because you mentioned whether he's living off his name, and I just want to make the sort of direct comparison to Ryan Sessegnon, if I will. It wasn't he was sort of a bit part player in his first season when he came through at 16. It wasn't really until the middle to the latter half of the season that we really started to see, right, this kid can be something. The real crowning, the coming out moment, as it were, was the game at St James's Park, which was, I believe, some point in March, maybe late February. So I don't want to really be judging Stephen Sessegnon's career right now and saying, let's use these examples as whether or not he's any good or if he needs improvement. I think there's still a lot to come out of him. Yeah, obviously he needs to improve, but the fact is he's young and he's got the freedom, as it were, to improve because he is so young and inexperienced. There will probably be some argument for maybe giving him more rotational role with Dennis Adoy, and I can certainly understand that, but I'm not exactly going to pound the drum and say he must stay at right back or he must be dropped either way. I'm sort of in 2 minds about it. If you see where I'm coming at, if he gets dropped, fine, he gets dropped. If he stays, fine, he gets stayed. I'm happy with either decision.
I also think he might be capable of playing that. In the second half, Parker changed it up and we played 3 at the back. I think he got taken off in that game, but I think he'd be capable of playing that right-sided centre back position as well because he is more defensive than he is attacking, and his positioning is good. So I'd be interested to see if he could fit in there.
I feel like he's done that before. Did he play there at Millwall away in the Cup last season?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think he did.
Yeah. But I'm not necessarily saying we need to write him off now and we need to judge his entire career by his performances this season. I just feel like we're in a strong position at the moment, potentially to get promoted. And should we be compromising potentially being promoted by playing somebody in the team just to give them experience, just because his name's Sessegnon, when we do have other players who could play that position? I mean, Cyrus Christie, I have no idea what's happened to him. He's not even in the squad anymore, is he? And I know he's not everybody's favourite player and everybody's cup of tea. I don't know if he's injured, but then we've got Dennis as well. So we do have players who are more experienced than Stephen Sess who can play that position.
Yeah, but I think he's there on merit. I think he's good enough. We certainly saw it when he first came into the team. He looked really good, and his form has dropped a little bit. But I think that's what you have to expect from a young player. So I think he's definitely more than capable of playing there, and potentially is our best in that position.
Yeah, exactly. As I say, he has good games, he has bad games. Like the game against Huddersfield on the Friday night, I think he got robbed for man of the match that night because I think he went to Caballero. But he's shown, and I said this when I went to see the Brighton friendly back in pre-season, you can tell that he's absolutely capable of playing at this level. It's just whether he's capable of playing regularly at this level. We'll just have to wait and find out. When he has a good day, he doesn't look as if he's completely out of place, is the best way to put it.
All right, guys. Well, we found ourselves behind 4 minutes before the break. Charlton had a man over and unmarked at the back post. He headed a deep cross back into the middle, and Conor Gallagher finished it off. Could anything have been done to prevent the goal, Dom, or was it just one of those things, tidy finish from the middle of the goal?
It's a tough one. I think you can't necessarily pin the blame on one player. I'm not sure where Tim Ream was. Maybe he'd come across to cover the other player. I have to watch it back, but there was far too much space for the player who headed the ball back across. Like I said before, Bettinelli, I'm not sure about his positioning on that one. I think he might have been a bit too far over to his near post, because the ball, when it went in, it kind of went straight down the middle, and he tried to get across to it, but he couldn't. Yeah, it's a tough one. We concede goals like that quite regularly. It was a bit worrying how much crosses into the box made us panic. We'd been looking a little bit stronger from crosses and set pieces lately, but something about the way Charlton was swinging them in really got at us. And both of their goals came from kind of deep crosses into the box. So I don't know. It's like I said, it's difficult to pinpoint whose fault it was, but it was just a kind of combination of poor defending all around, really.
Yeah, I think you can really sort of pinpoint the problem was basically the guy being free at the back post headed down. Again, I don't know whose assignment it was, because where was Joe Bryan, but maybe he was tracking someone else. Maybe it was Tim Ream. That's really the sort of focal point of the goal, is the fact that he was so unmarked at the back post to be able to win the header. If Joe Bryan or Tim Ream had been there to maybe give him a bit more of a challenge, he may not have headed it down precisely to goal scorer whose name escapes me right now. So yeah, I think it seems we're going to have to do this for more or less every single goal this season until something gets sorted out. But I'm not going to blame Marcus Bettinelli for it at all. It's again just one of those things. If it had been dealt with earlier, then we wouldn't have had to. He wouldn't have been put in that situation.
I spoke to my dad earlier, and he blamed Bettinelli, and I hadn't even considered that it was Bettinelli's fault. And I've watched it again, and I don't think he could have done much about it, really. It was just such a low, powerful shot. He tried to react to it as best he could, but I don't really think he had much of a chance with it. But anyway.
I thought he followed the ball a bit much for my liking. He sort of ended up drifting across to the far post when he should have maybe had his angles covered a bit better. It's picky, but there's a few plays he could have done better in that situation.
Fair enough. That's what we're here to do. We're here to be picky. Okay, so second half we switched to 3 at the back formation. Sess came off for Bobby Reid, and Mawson, Ream and Bryan were the 3 defenders at the back. Harrison Reid also replaced Harry Arter, who had quite a bit of treatment in the first half. How do you think the change in formation worked for us? Who was playing where, actually? And could we potentially use this formation from the start of matches in the future, Baldo?
Yeah, I'm very much in the same boat. Yeah, I wasn't 100% sure who was playing where. Like Caballero and Knockout as the wing backs.
Yeah, they weren't really playing wing backs. They weren't doing a great deal of defending. But we didn't really have to. We pinned them in a little bit.
Points to the confusion of the matter. I don't know. Is it something we can go with from the start of the game? Maybe when it comes to sort of weaker opponents. Yeah, as much as Charlton are a very good team, I wouldn't want to try it against a team like Leeds, for instance, who with their wide players would tear us apart. Anyone with decent wide players, really, wouldn't play it that way. But yeah, I could see us starting with it, but I wouldn't want it to be the default setting going forward in no way, shape, or form. Because there were a couple of times where I was slightly worried about being exposed on occasion. So by all means, have it as a plan B, have it as a plan A against weaker sides, but I don't want to be seeing it every single game. No.
Well, I came out the ground yesterday and we were all speaking on WhatsApp, and Matt Lampett was quite keen to see us start with that formation in some games in the future. And I felt like us changing to 3 at the back was just a reaction to how Charlton were playing. And it was almost like Scott Parker's had a look at it at half time and thought, we need to switch to this formation to beat this team. So we don't necessarily have to play our usual game every single week. We can react to how other teams are playing and think, right, we can get players in behind them this way. What do you think, Dom?
That's how I see it as well. I think Scott Parker, he did really well to react to the situation. He could see where it was going wrong. They took Sessegnon off, who hadn't had the best game, to be fair to him, but it worked really well. And what I really liked about it is it got so much more out of Bobby Reid than we've seen. On another day, he could have had 2 or 3 goals, but he was kind of. We've spoken about it before that maybe we could, play a 4-4-2 with Bobby Reid up front. But I think if we're going to get the most out of him, what we saw in the second half against Charlton would really do that, because we've got defenders trying to deal with Mitrovic's strength, but then Bobby Reid was kind of floating around off him and finding space and getting in behind and doing really well creatively as well and getting on the end of passes. So yeah, it's a great second option. It's really, really quite impressive that we managed to change it around and get on top of the game, because in that second half we were dominant.
Really were dominant. Mitro received treatment just after half time for what looked to be an ankle injury, and I felt after that it kicked him into life. He had a good battle with Jason Pearce, the Charlton number 6, which threatened to boil over at times. And Mitro did later get booked for knocking him over, which was quite entertaining. It's great to see Mitro, though, channeling his anger into his football, isn't it? As I thought he looked really dangerous against Charlton Baldo.
Yeah, an angry Mitro is a happy Mitro in many ways, shapes, and forms, because I think he really plays on that. But when he did sort of go down first, there was a little bit of me, just a little bit of down in the back of my mind to say, hang on, if this is a serious problem, who do we have going forward? Because I don't think we've really got a proper centre forward to back him up. Some would argue Bobby Reid, but I still have my reservations about him being the lone centre forward, personally. Yeah,
I've got to say, just before you go on, I was sat next to John Shaw yesterday, who used to be on the pod, and it was hilarious. Mitro's gone down, clutching his leg, and John Shaw sat there and went, "He's done his ACL. He's done his ACL." 30 seconds later, he's back up running around again. Nice one, John.
But that's the thing. It instills a little bit of panic when Mitrovic goes down, because you think, hang on, are we completely buggered if this turns out to be anything worse? So I think Shaw is a bit of an overreaction there, it must be said, but not without its merit.
I think Mitrovic is probably hard enough to carry on if he's done his ACL as well. Probably the only player out there who would at least try. But yeah,
then went and scored.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but it is a concern because, as you say, we don't have a like-for-like replacement.
There's no like-for-like replacement. There's no like-for-like replacement in the division.
No, of course, no. But even sort of a similar physical kind of threat, we don't have that in our squad. We'd have to change the way we played, so it's a concern. But he seems to be, he's made of strong stuff, isn't he? So we're all kind of fortunate that he doesn't, touch wood, he hasn't seemed to pick up any bad injury. So yeah,
touch wood, he doesn't. All right, well let's come on to the Fulham equaliser then. 55th minute, beautiful goal. Dom, talk me through it.
Oh, lovely, absolutely superb. I think 3 or 4 touches from halfway until it's gone in. Bobby Reid getting involved with the 1-2. Cavallero 1 touch to cut inside, doesn't even break stride. He's running full pelt, and then you can see on the replay he sort of looks across and sees what his options are before he decides, I'm going to hit this into the top corner. And the keeper, he'd played well, got a touch on it, but it was just too much for him. That's 4 goals now is it 4 for Cavallero now? And they've all been absolute pearlers. So let's hope he carries on doing that.
Well, we criticise people like Cavallero and Knockaert on this show, don't we, at times, because we say they're too selfish. But without that selfish element, we wouldn't be getting goals like that. And that finish was absolutely superb, right in the top corner. So it's a difficult
weaker
one.
foot, wasn't it? Like I've not seen him score with his left foot, so it's quite amazing how he can arrow it into the top corner with such power from supposedly a weaker foot. So yeah, he's a good player.
Yeah, he's a superb player, but we just want to kind of find that balance, don't we, of selfishness versus creating chances for other players. But all the while he's doing that. I mean, if he did that every time, then he can shoot every time he's got the ball. So
yeah,
absolutely.
It's a good point though. It's a good point because his best moments have been those 4 goals, whereas Knockout's chipped in with a few assists as well. So he's perhaps more of a rounded team player. But as you say, you've got to have it both, really.
Yeah, so we're only level for a minute, and I felt the second chart on goal came down to bad defending as we couldn't clear the ball before Macaulay Bond's header looped over Betts and into the net. Surely we should have done better here, especially so soon after scoring. I mean, was Betts at full, or was one of the defenders, or just the defence in general at full? What do you think, Dom?
Yeah, I mean, again, general bad defending to let that cross come in largely unchallenged, really. We should have cleared it before that as well. Can't blame Mitro for getting beaten in the air, I don't think. He's back there, trying to defend. I think it was Mitro who got beaten in the air. Betts, I think there is some fault with him again. As it comes in, it goes to around this sort of 6-yard box when the header goes in, and before that, Betts has kind of taken a few steps towards it, and it's ended up looping over him. I think if he was standing more on his line, realising he's not going to actually get to this cross, he might have tipped over the bar. But again, it's probably a bit harsh. I think if one person does their job properly, we probably clear it and it doesn't go in.
Yeah, I just you said you really didn't want to blame Mitrovic. I think if you want to have the main culprit of anything from that goal, I personally would put it on Mitrovic. Similar to the first goal where I said if someone had been challenging him, they may have been a little bit different. But I think if Mitrovic has just been a little bit stronger, or maybe tracked the runner a little bit better, and at least made him do something rather than because it was a relatively simple flicked header. If he'd just made him work a little bit harder for it, I think it may have been a little different.
I think that's a bit harsh. Because where are the centre backs?
Yeah, it is probably a bit harsh, but I'm saying if you want to put the blame on anyone, I would personally put it on Mitrovic. Like, as you say, it's one of those things. Any day it could have gone different. The whole team probably needs some sort of blame for it, but if you had to sort of pinpoint it on one man, I'd sadly put it on Mitrovic.
See, I can't remember exactly what happened before that goal. I've seen the highlights of the goal since and the little flicked header that loops in, but I remember there being a bit of pinball kind of action in the penalty area before the goal. And I remember shouting out, just bloody clear it, and we couldn't. And then the ball's gone out wide and crossed in. So I can't remember who was at fault because I haven't watched the full game again. I have no intention of doing that either because I was going to say I've got better things to do, but that's not necessarily true. However, I'm not going to watch it again. But I think it's a little bit harsh to just blame whoever didn't clear that cross because I felt like something should have been done before then. Yeah,
agreed. It was a corner on the other side of the pitch, wasn't it? So there's plenty of chance to get rid of it.
Yeah, exactly. All right. After that, Joe Bryan hit the bar from what looked to be a cross from miles out, and then Mitro hit the bar with a shot from the middle of the goal, or the middle of the area rather. Moments later, Bobby Reid had a shot which deflected out for a corner, and from the resulting corner, Mitro eventually bundled in our second equaliser after a Tom Kenny header. Fairly scrappy goal, but did you think from here that we'd go on to win the game, Baldo?
No, personally, I think we were incredibly lucky to. I wouldn't say lucky to get out with a draw. I think a draw is pretty much a fair result. But no, I think we worked so hard for it that I didn't think we were going to be able to get anything more out of it. If I can really word it that way, just one of those days where things just weren't 100% clicking. Charlton, it must be said, Charlton are a very good side. Lee Bow has done a cracking job with them, considering all the pressure that he's more or less under from the board and above and all the chaos above him. So I'm not exactly disappointed that we got that we got a draw out of it. I would have been disappointed if we lost, obviously, but I'm not going to be too disappointed that we didn't win in the grand scheme of things.
What about you, Dom? Come on, be the voice of reason here.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely thought we were going to go on and win it. I thought we were going to go on and win it after the first equaliser, if I'm completely honest. We've done really well to come back from the sucker punch of the second goal. But, more than thinking we were going to go on and win it, we really could have done. Bobby Reed's had one tipped over the bar. It was a really good save. And I think then later on as well, he got a touch on it in the 6-yard box and the keeper put it wide. Another day it could have been 5-2. So I think the draw, as Border said, is probably the fair result, really. But I don't think they could have complained if we had gone on to win it 3-4-2.
I felt that Anthony Knockaert had quite a quiet game creatively, but I noticed that when we were up against it, he was absolutely superb tracking back when Charlton were on the counter-attack. I noticed him sprinting back to get in the box when nobody else did, and although that Charlton attack didn't amount to anything in the end, that's a reason, in addition to his attacking threat, why he's such an important player to us. Word on Anthony Knockaert from you, Baldo?
No, I think he sort of falls into what we were touching on with Cavallero earlier on. Personally, this is sort of going to be a statement on both of them, but Knockaert probably more so. In that, when it's good, but when it's bad, they're just passengers essentially, and you think they could do a little bit more. So it's just a case of getting more consistency out of both of them. I'd probably say Cavallero's been the slightly better player so far, and I think Knockaert not necessarily needs to up his game because he's done some great stuff for us, but there's certainly still a little bit more to come out of him, in my opinion.
No, I really don't think you can level the word passenger at Anthony Knockaert. I mean, it doesn't always work out for him, but he's one of the main players who was absolutely puts 100%, and he wears his heart on his sleeve and he goes for it. He's fully committed to everything he does, whether that's tracking back or going for goal or trying to set up a goal. I see it as the exact opposite, to be honest. I don't think he goes missing at all, and I think we're a better team for having someone like that in it.
Absolutely, I'm not saying that he needs to be dropped. I'm just saying that I only really notice him when he's doing. This may sound bad. I only really notice him when he's doing something well. When the game isn't going well, he just seems to drift off. Just to me, that's the way I see it.
I think people are always going to look to Anthony Knockaert to be creating opportunities, and if he's not creating opportunities for one of the other players, they're going to be looking to him to create opportunities for himself. But next time we play, just watch him, just keep your eyes on him and see what he does defensively as well. He is all over the place. He's running back, trying to get blocks in, getting himself in positions, and he is an outstanding player, certainly at this level. So I thought we were 3-2 down, actually. Tim Ream miscontrolled a high ball, almost bounced off his Toblerone toe and went to one of the Charlton players, and one of the Charlton players had a shot from distance, which Betts plucked out the top corner. Thought it was an outstanding save from a curling shot. For me, Betts is back in form. What do you guys think?
Well, yeah, I mean, that was an excellent save. I think it took a deflection, so he had to kind of adjust his feet and make the save. Back in form, I mean, it's tough. He's had a good couple of games. I'll give it credit where it's due. I thought it was time for Rodak to come in, but since that point, he had a couple of excellent games, and he did fine against Shelton. I mean, I was being picky about not blaming him, but his part in the goals we conceded against Shelton. Other people will have a different view. I just like to see him be more commanding from set pieces. I know that's a lot to ask. We've been spoiled in the past with goalkeepers like Van der Sar and Mark Schwartz. I don't know. I still think we can improve in that area. I think it's one of the weak points of the team. I don't know whether he's got another level to get to, as harsh as that might sound.
Yeah, I think it's a tad harsh to say back in form as if he sort of left it. I wasn't part of the a vehement Bettinelli out sort of guy. I said maybe it's worth looking at Rodak, but I'm not exactly disappointed in the fact that Ben is the keeper. So because he's not been terrible. He's had a few questionable things, but at the same time, he's made a couple of decent saves along the way as well. So I don't think it's really said to say back in form, because he's really it's the same Bettinelli.
I guess I think the way I look at it is we've seen so many keepers already this season come to the cottage and put in near enough man of the match performances. And I don't see that ever from Betts.
Yeah, exactly. And you said, whether or not he's got another level. I think that's fair enough. I think he's a good championship goalkeeper, and we saw that in the fact that we tried Fabry and Sergio Rico in the Premier League last season because we knew that he's not a good enough Premier League goalkeeper. I think that's fine. I think everyone can sort of accept that. But I think he's a good championship keeper. So I'm not going to get very vehement unless he starts making howler after howler after howler and costing us 3 points every single week. But until then, I'm very much going to say, let's see how it goes from here on out.
So this is quite a big point. Just as the board for 7 minutes injury time went up, Cavallero crossed from in front of the Johnny Haynes stand, picked up Bobby Reid, who was about 6 yards out, and somehow he didn't score, instead giving Charlton keeper Phillips the chance to make what looked like a wonder save. But surely he has to score that, doesn't he, Dom?
Yeah, I think he has to, really. A bit like Mutro's one before when he hit the bar. Both of those really should be going in from players of their calibre. Phillips made a few really good saves in that game. But I think if Reid puts that sort of into the roof of the net, then it goes in, doesn't it? Credit where it's due, the keeper got across and made himself big. But yeah, it's a shame because he really deserved that goal.
Yeah, I mean, he did get across and he did make himself big, but I don't know. I just feel like a striker like Bobby Reid from that distance and with an opportunity like that he shouldn't be giving the goalkeeper a save to make, should he, Baldo?
No, exactly, and it sort of plays to why I'm still a bit hesitant for Bobby Reid to be sort of trusted with a more permanent role because I think there's still something quite lacking from his game. I personally think some credit should go to the Charlton goalkeeper for his efforts, and touched on what Dom said. Just one of those games, in one of those any other day that may go a yard either side or below or above, and it's a goal. It just happens that Phillips was having a pretty good performance that day. So some of it's on Bobby Reid, some of it's on Phillips, some of it's just on luck. Again, just one of those days.
I think if that chance happens in minute one, then you kind of go, all right, well, he should have scored. But the fact that it happened in injury time in a game like that, I guess it was more the circumstances in which it happened, which were most frustrating. But perhaps even more frustrating, though, we had an excellent chance from a free kick on the edge of the box. Anthony Knockaert's on the pitch, Tom Kearney's on the pitch, but who steps up to take it but Alfie bloody Mawson? Can anyone tell me why, out of all the players on the pitch, a player who I've never seen take a free kick before in my life for Fulham steps up to take a free kick in, the 94th minute? What on earth was that about?
My only train of thought is that someone made a joke about it, whether or not Alfie Mawson won a free kick competition during training. My only thought is that Alfie Mawson, just for a laugh once, took a free kick, maybe during pre-season, just took a free kick and hit the top corner once. And then maybe it's something that he's done routinely in training. So Scott Parker's thinking, hang on, he's got it in his locker. Let's give it a go. It's probably something I would rather have seen it, when we were 4-1 up against Reading, rather than, injury time scores a tide sort of thing. But it's not as if he did it for a laugh, Scott Parker, or for a bet, some sort of thing. There's obviously got to be some sort of reason, and maybe it'll come out in sort of press conferences or maybe under the Official Secrets Act in 10 years' time sort of thing. It'll come out why he took it, but I'm not exactly going to get vehemently angry over it.
Someone's learned a new word, haven't they, Mr. Vehemently?
Yeah, I know. It's my go-to phrase. It's because I was vehemently angry with a situation that happened on Saturday morning that I'm just going to keep in the podcast.
Well, I mean, David Beckham, Alfie Mawson is not. And you're talking about being a betting man. If I was a betting man, I'd have bet that ball went over the crossbar when Alfie Mawson stood behind it. Dom, what did you think when Alfie Mawson stood up to take that free kick?
I mean, surely no one in the ground thinks that's going to go in. Completely bizarre. I've got no explanation for it apart from I saw on Twitter fans of one of his previous clubs. I don't know whether it was Swansea or was it Barnsley he was at before. Can't remember who he's played for, but apparently he's scored a couple previously. But that's all I've got to go on. Strange decision. Give it to someone who's known for shooting.
It's funny actually because you had Kearney and Knockout sniffing around it, and the bloke next to me kind of said, "Well, Alfie Mawson's stepping up. It's going to be him." And we all kind of laugh, and we're like, all of a sudden, hang on a minute, it looks like he is.
And can I say, if you look at the team down the road, they had Alex and David Luiz taking centre backs taking free kicks for years. So it's not as if it's completely out of the realm of possibility that Alfie Mawson could have done it. Centre backs have scored free kicks in the past. So let's not instantly discredit him. Who knows? He may get one in the future, and
so have goalkeepers as well. But
yeah, exactly.
you don't see Betts taking them.
Who knows? That
I
may
say
be
Louis Chilivert.
Or Rogerio Ceni or any of the other lot. Exactly.
Yeah. Actually, Chilivert was he a penalty taker, or did he took both? Maybe I can't remember.
Chilivert took free kicks and penalties. And then Ceni was the Brazilian one who did it as well. So again, it's not out of the realms of possibility.
But it was stupid.
Last Fulham centre half to score a free kick. Come on, Baldo.
That's a very good one. Coleman, Simon, no.
Oh yeah,
that night must have got one at
Coleman,
some stage.
Simons, and Goma were renowned for their free kicks. I'll tell you what though, Mark Blake was a centre half in the 96-97 season, and he scored every penalty that he took. So let's go with that. All right, let's move on. I thought there were some excellent performances in the game. Mitro had a good game, as did Bobby Reid, aside from the miss that we've talked about. But I thought even Cavallero was absolutely outstanding against Charlton. We do have a lot of match winners in this side, and they seem to take it in turn to take the lead on this front. Baldo, who stood out for you as the best player against Charlton?
I'm still going to have to follow your lead. I think Cavallero. Go back to what I said. When he's good, he's fantastic. So I can't really think of anything more than him. Maybe I'm just sort of being victim of the moment and the fact that his goal was so fantastic that it's sort of clouding everything else. But I'm going to have to say Cavallero. It wasn't a great. We had some excellent play, but it wasn't a great game overall. In fairness, I can't really pin it down to one person. So I was going to lean on what you said and go for Cavallero again. Probably the goal just edges it for me.
I've got to say, I thought it was a great game. But anyway, Dom, what about you? Who stood out for you in this game? Who was man of the match?
I think even though he was only on for the second half, it was Bobby Reid for me. Whether it was the change of formation or whether it was bringing Reid on into the game, I thought he changed it. I thought he offered us something different. He was involved in everything. And on another day, as I said earlier, he would have had a goal or two to cap it off. I think that's all that was missing, really.
Hopefully his first goal for Fulham isn't too far away. So before the Wigan game last week, looking at the 3-game run that we had, Wigan, Reading and Charlton, Baldo, would you have accepted a return of 7 points from these 3 games, or were you looking for all 9? Starting
from the Wigan game, I would have wanted 7 points, absolutely. From the start of the season, not knowing who exactly Charlton were going to be, I'd have wanted 9. But as the season's gone on, as I said earlier, how good a team Charlton are. So it's not really a disappointment to only get 1 point off them. So yeah, 7 points, absolute a fair return from the 3 games, absolutely.
What about you, Dom? 7 points enough from those 3 games? I feel like if I didn't think about it before those 3 games, but I feel like I would have said 7 points minimum from those 3 games.
Yeah, I think 7 points was the minimum. After we beat Reading, I think we all thought it should have been 9. But that's this league. Anyone can turn up and upset the big clubs on their day. And I think the way we went about the points is really good as well. Because against Wigan, we showed that after a series of conceding late on when we should have won the game, we actually went and got that second goal, which is really good to see. Reading, we completely dominant away performance. Doesn't get much better than that. And Charlton, we showed that we can come back from A, not playing very well, and B, twice a goal down. So yeah, there's some good signs there.
Stato made a really good point last week when he said that the last time we had a big midweek victory against Millwall, we turned up against Forest expecting to win on the Saturday and ended up getting beaten. So it was important not to be complacent. And I don't think we were complacent on Saturday, and we ended up getting a point when we should have got all 3. So that is some progress, I guess.
Yeah, I think Charlton played a lot better than Forest did as well. So yeah, it was good to come back against a team who were, really playing well above their level.
Well, let's have a word on Charlton. They've taken 4 points from their last 3 games, which was Leeds at home, Swansea at home, and then coming to us on Saturday. Their playing style reminds me a lot of their manager Lee Bowyer back in his playing days. They're quick, with a good tempo, lots of huff and puff. Baldo, where do you see Charlton finishing this season? Do you see them maintaining their early season form?
I honestly can't put my finger on Charlton. They have all the capabilities of doing well, but at the same time, this could just be the false dawn. Remember Hull back in their first season of Premier League when they were like third going into December and then just plummeted. It could very easily happen to them. I think it's really going to depend on if they keep their squad fit and everything's fine, because they've got a really, really good setup there. And as I said, I do quite like Lee Bowyer as a manager. I think he's a good up and comer. So I think a lot of it's going to be dictated on luck, but at the same time, I think you have to give him some credit. So I don't think they'll quite be pushing for the playoffs, but certainly comfortably mid to upper mid table.
I quite like Lee Bowyer, words that nobody has ever said before in their
life. As a manager, he was a bit of a...
I haven't even heard a Charlton fan say that.
Player. Let's put it that way. He was a bit of a wrong as a player, but as a manager, he seems okay.
All right, mate. Okay. What about you, Dom? Where do you see Charlton finishing this season?
Yeah, similar, I think. I mean, before we played them, I would have said they're going to pick up a lot of early points, and then when they get to around 30 points or so, they're going to struggle and have a difficult run in, but stay up based on the points they've managed to get. But having seen them play, yeah, they've got a great unit there. I think Bo's done a good job of getting their team spirit going, and yeah, I think they could, if they keep it up, get a top 10 this season. I don't think they're quite good enough for the playoffs. I think overall quality will tell. Yeah, I don't think they're going to be anywhere near trouble.
I think they're struggling with injuries as well, so I think that'll take its toll on them for this season. But I said last week after the Reading game, when we were previewing the Charlton game, I could see them finishing in the bottom half. But having seen them play and seen the way that Johnny Williams dictates their play, although he only lasted 60 minutes, I thought he looked like an excellent player. And yeah, I could see them finishing top 10 as well after seeing them and how they play. So good luck to them for the rest of the season.
Well, you was under specific instructions from Giggs to get Johnny Williams off after 60 minutes because he's got to deal with Slovakia on Wednesday. So that was specifically for that.
I see. Yeah, the mighty Slovakia. Okay, well, come on, Slovakia. That's all I can say.
Is that true?
Of course
that's me joking around. But
Christ, man.
But for the love of God, I was happy to see him go off. A, because he was hurting us, and B, because we need him for Slovakia on Wednesday. Or Thursday. I forget when it is.
I forgot where you were from for a minute then.
Yeah, exactly.
I forgot where you were born,
exactly.
Baldy.
The Aldershot and Wales Little Mix fan club speaks up again. All right. So Scott Parker got all sorts of abuse from the Charlton fans who were singing "One Greedy Bastard," which I thought was a bit harsh. He left them 15 years ago and bettered himself at bigger clubs than Charlton. He's now our manager, though, so let's go to a Scott Parker rating. I'll come to you first, Dom. What was your Scott Parker rating for the Charlton game?
I'm going to go with a 7 simply because of the fact that we didn't manage to turn it around. A lot of that is obviously on the chances we missed and the performance of their keeper, but he deserves a lot of credit for changing things around at half-time, seeing what wasn't working, and we came out so much better in that second half. And if only we'd have started the game on the front foot like we were in the second half, we would have won it easily. I think we should be playing Harrison Reed instead of Harry Arter, personally. So that's my only real issue with the starting lineup. I can't give him an 8 because we didn't win, but a solid 7.
Yeah, I'd also agree. I'd go with a 7, mainly because he reacted well to what was going wrong in the first half, and we came out and we gave it a real go in the second half, and 9 times out of 10 we win that game, I think. What do you think, Baldo? Out of 10?
Yeah, it's 7s all round, and Dom's taken the words more or less straight out of my mouth. He gets some points taken off for the way we set up and the fact that we didn't get the win, but he gets some plus points for showing a plan B, and the fact that he's willing to change it up and willing to change his style, which some Fulham managers in the past haven't been willing to do. So he gets some plus points for that. So yeah, 7s all round.
Fantastic. All right, lads. Well, thanks ever so much for joining me, and thanks to you all for joining us at home as ever. The Fulham Focus podcast is taking a short break now for next weekend's international games. And we'll be back on Thursday, the 17th of October, with a preview of that weekend's match away at Stoke, as well as a player in focus chat. If you already subscribe, then you don't need to do anything at all. But if you don't, then please do head to your podcast app of choice, search for Fulham Focus, and then hit subscribe. Whilst you're there, give us a lovely little 5-star rating too. By the way, we're 6 games undefeated. Surely not again. We couldn't, could we? See you all soon. Enjoy the break. Cheers.